Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the 2025 Mason Public Lecture with Allison Ausband, the Executive Vice President and Chief People Officer for Delta Airlines. Allison is not only a close friend, but she provided extraordinary leadership as chair of the UGA Foundation during two of our most successful years in fundraising in the entire history of the University of Georgia. This signature lecture is part of the Terry Leadership Speaker Series, which has brought many distinguished leaders from public and private sectors to the UGA campus to educate and inspire our students. Today's honored speaker, Allison Ausband, will participate in a discussion moderated by Ella Floyd, an ILA Leadership Fellow. We are fortunate to have the namesake of the Mason Public Lecture here with us today. Keith Mason is a loyal University of Georgia alumnus who served as a trustee of the UGA Foundation for over a decade. This lecture reflects one of Keith's passions, which is having an essential part of the UGA experience focus around public leadership. He shares my belief that this university, the birthplace of public higher education in America, has a responsibility to produce outstanding leaders for our state, our nation, and the world. I'd like you to join me in thanking Keith and his wife, Twinker, for their generosity in supporting this lecture series and for all that they do for the University of Georgia. Keith, we are so glad to have you with us today. Clearly, Keith demonstrates with the way he leads that what he does has a tremendous impact on the future of this country. Following today's discussion, Keith will offer some concluding remarks. We have so many wonderful students, faculty, and staff with us today. We're glad to have Provost Ayers and several other UGA administrators and deans in the audience this morning. Thank you all for being here. At this time, I'll turn the program over to Assel Monteze, an ILA Leonard Leader Scholar studying finance. Assel has completed multiple rotations at Delta Airlines, where she has worked on international analytics and has been engaged in many impressive projects. Please welcome her as she will introduce Allison Ausband.
Thank you, President Moorhead. I'm delighted to be here this morning to introduce a distinguished alumnus of the University of Georgia. Through attention and action, true public leaders demonstrate that success in their fields is also defined by the contributions they make to others. Today's speaker is such a leader, Mrs. Allison Ausband. As Executive Vice President and Chief People Officer for Delta Airlines, Mrs. Ausband has exemplified innovative leadership, leading Delta's global talent management, total rewards, and human resource service delivery functions, supporting more than 100,000 employees who embodies Delta's signature people-first culture. With 4 decades of service at Delta, Mrs. Ausband has devoted her career to championing both employees and customers. She has held senior leadership roles across the company, including Chief Customer Experience Officer, where she guided 70,000 team members delivering end-to-end service, and Senior Vice President of In-Flight Services, where she led 20,000 flight attendants to record levels of customer satisfaction. Under her leadership, Delta achieved top rankings in the J.D. Power 2024 North American Airline Satisfaction Study and became the first U.S. airline to earn a J.D. Power certification for its engagement centers. She began her Delta journey in 1985 as a flight attendant shortly after graduating from the University of Georgia. Today, she continues to give back to her alma mater as chair of the UGA Foundation Board of Trustees, while also serving on the boards of Delta Community Credit Union and the William R. and Sarah Babb Smith Foundation. She is also a passionate advocate in Delta's fight against human trafficking. Please join me in welcoming a leader who embodies service, innovation, and a deep commitment to its people, Allison Ausband.
Good morning, and welcome to the Mason Public Leadership Lecture Series. My name is Ella Floyd. I'm a Leadership Fellow studying Public Relations. I've enjoyed getting to know Mrs. Ausband, and I'm excited to facilitate today's discussion. Thank you for joining us today. It is an absolute honor to have you here. So I want to go all the way back to the beginning. Welcome back to your alma mater.
It's great to be back.
Yes.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. What made you choose the University of Georgia, and what drew you into the major of journalism?
Yeah, well, first of all, it is great to be back, and my option is either be over in Athens or be back talking about the government shutdown and 2,000 flight cancellations, so it's always refreshing to be on campus. But no, this place there's nothing like it. You know, my older brother went here, and, you know, just being on campus a few times with him, the spirit of this place is unmatched. The tradition, there's nothing like it. So I had no other choice, but Delta, this was going to be it, UGA.
I love it. Were there any clubs or organizations or maybe professors during your time here at UGA that left a lasting impact on your time here?
Sure. I would say I was a part of a sorority, which I came from a really small high school. So coming here to UGA and being in a sorority made the world a little bit smaller for me, leadership opportunities there. But I think one of the big things from the sorority for me was getting me connected into the community. I don't think it exists today, but it was called Communiversity. And we went into neighborhoods and truly helped, be mentors and tutor for young children. And it was very different from growing up in high school and then being here on a big campus and being able to give back in that way. And then two professors that I credit really what I do today to them, Al Wise, Bill Martin. I was a Grady grad, and I just remember being in their classes thinking about, media and broadcast news, and always check your facts and tell the truth. Don't be opinionated, but state the facts. And then really talking and teaching us about storytelling and how you can influence through storytelling. And to this day, there's not an email or what I'm doing today or a video that I don't go back to those two professors and credit this place and them for where I am, a part of where I am today. So.
Well, Delta definitely does an amazing job of storytelling, and it's great to hear that you learned some of that right here. You also mentioned something earlier about traditions, that you love the traditions here at UGA. Were there any that were your favorite that you still love to do to this day?
Between the Hedges.
Yes.
Every Saturday. Yeah.
Yes, I love it. Well, I'm a college senior right now. I know there's probably a lot of seniors out here. If you're a senior, could you give a quick raise of your hand? So you got a room full of people about to enter into the career world. What advice would you give to these young professionals in the room about how to make the most of their college years and prepare for their future careers?
Yeah, enjoy these last few months, by the way, for those of you who are, I think to me, college, being here on campus is as much about furthering your IQ as it is developing your EQ. And so curiosity, get to know people around you, get involved. I look back, and if I had one regret, it's probably I would have been more involved on campus and learning more and just fulfilling that curiosity. There's so many things here that you can do and to learn both, right, more intellectually and from an EQ perspective.
Love it. Well, after graduation, you hosted a morning show and then made a career shift to become a flight attendant. What motivated that change?
Yeah, so my dream coming out of UGA was get into broadcast news. I thought, let me start small. I had a morning show. It was fun. But for those of you who are in that, it's one person, you're at your panel working, playing music all day, and I wanted to get on with a bigger company. And to me, I grew up here, it was Delta and Coca-Cola. And those two companies, incredibly beloved brands, but to me it was more important the values. And I think my advice to those of you who are looking at different companies to be a part of, you have to be aligned with the values of that company. If you're not, you're going to be miserable. So pick somebody that you can be aligned with from a values perspective. So I focused on Delta. I applied at Delta to get into public relations with my journalism degree. I thought this is perfect. I got a no letter. I got declined. That no letter sits behind me every day on my wall. It's inspiration that you can do all things. I got a no, and then I said, I am going to work for Delta Airlines. And at the time, 40 years ago, those positions were in public relations were promote from within, so you had to get your foot in the door. And so the person who I credit me getting my job here is today, Harold Beavis. Harold, thank you. He was at Delta. My dad happened to know Harold. He was also working at Delta and mayor of Lake City, Georgia. And my dad reached out to Harold and said, my daughter got declined at Delta, but she really wants to work there. Do you have any advice? And Harold said, she needs to start on the front line. She needs to either be a pilot, a gate agent, a flight attendant, but start there. And so truly, thank you. The career has been incredible because you were a big part of that. And so I started as a flight attendant. And if I had to start my career all over again, I would start right there. Delta's 102,000 people, but everything ends up on board that airplane to deliver for the brand every day, and just life lessons. The runway on that airplane is 17 and a half inches wide. So it's not very big. You're right there with humanity on your right and left every single time those planes take off. And you learn incredible life lessons. So it really broadened my horizon to really to leadership and to what Delta was all about.
I'm sure starting on the front line was so important and necessary to get to where you are today and learn more about Delta. I mean, you've been with Delta for 40 years, which is an incredibly rare level of commitment today. In a time where job hopping is often seen as the key to advancement, what inspired you to stay?
The people, without question. And I think, you will all have to decide, do you want to job hop? Do you want to stay somewhere? But to me, it has been about the people. And the first day at Delta, when I showed up on a Sunday afternoon for flight attendant training, the leader, the vice president of in-flight, as we called it, was there that day. And it made an impression on me that I am joining a company that serves a higher purpose than me. There's a big mission here at Delta in serving humanity. Delta is not perfect, but it has not let me down on that mission since I started 40 years ago. And there are so many opportunities there. If you pour yourself into it and work hard, the opportunities just flow from that.
Do you have any advice for someone who's weighing longevity versus exploring new options when it comes to their career?
No, I think again, each one of you, I think, will have to decide what you want to do. But I think, in a bigger company like Delta, if you do apply yourself, the opportunities are endless. And so I think get into where you are, get into your company, and then I think you'll learn very, very quickly, are you aligned with the values? Are you passionate about what you're doing every day? And then if you pour into it, then those opportunities are going to flow, and you'll decide whether you want to stay or go.
So sometimes there is a lot of opportunities in one place that you stay in. Well, you've hired thousands of people over your career. When you're reviewing resumes or sitting across from a candidate, what makes you think that right there is a Delta person?
First of all, if they spell Delta Airlines right.
With the space in between airlines.
So that's exactly right, Ella. You're doing good.
Thank you.
So note to self, if you're applying for Delta, it's 3 words. But it means something. When you have a brand like Delta, attention to detail is important. So that is the first clue. Are they going to make it here? I think the background around teamwork, what we do at Delta every day is really hard. We have to count on each other. The gate agent has to count on the ramp, et cetera. So teamwork, people who are all in, no matter what the job. Are you all into what you do? And then it really is, are you a culture fit? And that's very, very important. We've had many people who are wicked smart in their talent, expertise, but if they don't fit the culture, it's going to be really hard to be successful there. And it's a culture of being very humble, but driven. And so that's very, very important.
Those are good things to know for everyone. If you were graduating into today's job market with AI, global uncertainty, and rapid change, would you still follow the same path?
Yes, yes. And that's for me, but I look back on my career at Delta and I would not change a thing. If I'm so thankful for that decline letter, no, you cannot, we're not going to give you that job. I'm so thankful for that because it did, right? It put me right where I needed to be to learn what Delta was all about. I think, looking at this generation, you all today, I think the one thing that I would encourage you to, AI is the future. So, your ability to combine, technology with human judgment, because it's not going to replace humans, but we're going to have to live in a world where it's both. And that technology and AI is going to make all of us better and makes our jobs easier. So I would focus on that digital aspect of, as you're learning, and there's a lot going on here on campus to learn that, but I think that's important.
Very important to learn. In 2024, Delta was ranked number 94 on the Fortune 100 Best Companies to Work For. Just a year later, in 2025, you leapt to number 15. Very impressive. What leadership principles and cultural values made that leap possible?
We're really excited about that. We were number 94, we're 15, and we're going to be number 1 next year, so be on the lookout for that.
I will.
pushing hard, but we are the only airline. We're very proud of the fact that we're the only airline on the Great Places to Work list. And I would say it goes back to people first. We've had 9 CEOs at Delta Airlines. They've all put people first. And one of our founders' quotes, which I think really sets the tone, is, every single airline can buy the same Boeing aircraft. There are only so many seat manufacturers. Everybody can buy that. Everybody can have the same snack on board. But what they cannot replicate is the Delta people. And so that is made a huge difference for us.
That's the Delta difference.
That's right.
Yes.
That's the Delta difference.
I also saw recently that you got onto the list for the best places to work for women. What has that meant to you?
Yeah, and I think just building back to the other, I think whether it's women or great places to work, I didn't finish that statement, but it really, for us, it's people first and really listening intently. And more importantly, it's one thing to listen, but you got to make sure that you're acting on what you're hearing as a leader. I think it's so important to be out with your people. We take every opportunity to do that and every opportunity to act on that.
Well, that is definitely felt through your employees, obviously. You helped start the Behind the Wings program, where corporate employees volunteer on the front lines for a day. Why is that kind of crossover so important for large corporations?
Yeah, one of our values is about servant leadership, and I'm a firm believer if you're going to be a servant leader, live up to that value, you've got to be able to walk a mile in the shoes of the people you support. For me, being a flight attendant starting there was invaluable to me as a leader because I know what they go through every single second of every day. And Behind the Wings gives us an opportunity at Delta as leaders to go back out there and work as a flight attendant again, or be a gate agent, be out in the airport. With the shutdown, all of us as leaders have been out in front of the airport greeting customers and helping our teams. It keeps us grounded, it keeps us connected, and our frontline people appreciate it.
I had the great opportunity to do that through my internship this summer, and I got to go into the airport, leave the office for a day, and help people scan their boarding passes. And it truly gave me such a better understanding of all the different jobs that are at a company and how much it takes to be on those front lines. So I love that you guys do that program, and I think it's really important and special. Delta embarked on their 100th year in 2024. CEO Ed Bastian said in a recent interview, while some companies credit innovation or leadership for this kind of milestone, at Delta, it's because of our people, who are the Delta difference. With 100,000 employees, from ramp agents to route planners to cabin crews, it's a diverse and global team. How do you ensure everyone stays aligned and connected to Delta's mission?
Yeah, it starts with B-Day, their first day at Delta Airlines. We are teaching them the values of what it means to be a Delta employee, and we reiterate that all throughout their career. A part of it's about storytelling and recognition. In 2 weeks, we'll recognize the best of the best out of 102,000 employees, and they're peer nominated. And these are people that are living out the values every day, but it's great to recognize them. I'll give you a great example of one of our Chairman's Club honorees. She's a gate agent in Raleigh-Durham. She works in the baggage service office. You can imagine repeat customers coming through there all the time. She gets to know them. She realized one of the customers wasn't feeling well. They talked about it. He'd made a few trips. She found out that he needed a kidney. And it was just a casual conversation they had in the baggage office in Raleigh-Durham at Delta. And she went home to her family and said, I think I want to donate my kidney. And she found out she was a match. This is one of our gate agents who really barely knew this customer and donated a kidney. She went in to do that, and she found out she had an issue as well. So she not only saved his life, but he saved her life. And so, staying true to those stories and sharing that and recognizing our people who do that. We also do what we call Velvet, and we've been doing this for 20 years. 15 times a year, we bring in 700 employees from around the system to really rally around Delta and what Delta's all about and keeping true to the mission. And then the favorite one is more related to teamwork, which ties us back to the mission, is profit sharing. So every February 14th, for us, it's not Valentine's Day. My husband always says, Happy Valentine's Day. I'm like, no, it's profit sharing day at Delta. But we give away this past February $1.4 billion back to our employees, more so than any other carrier combined in profit sharing. But it's that recognition that the Delta people are living up to the values and the mission of Delta every single day. So it's really an opportunity to say thank you.
I like to say that you can always spot a Delta person based on their values. So it's great to see that 100,000 employees can be united by those same core values. I mean, Delta has weathered a century in one of the most turbulent industries. What is the secret sauce behind that staying power?
People. We've been through World War II, we've been through pandemics, we've been through acquisitions, we've been through mergers. The Northwest Delta merger, these were two opposite personality and brands, coming together as one. But the secret sauce is the people. They do it every time. We like to call it resilience. I like to call it grit. It's the Delta grit, it's the Bulldog grit, but it's one and the same of the Delta people. No matter what the mission, no matter how low the valley, how high the mountain, they will take it. So it is that Delta difference.
You mentioned the pandemic. March 2020 reshaped the world and aviation. How did the pandemic reshape your approach to leadership and employee care?
Yeah, that was, I was in New York when 9/11 happened. I had just flown up there the night before. So when the pandemic occurred, I'm like, okay, here we go again. We're going to get through this pretty quickly and get back moving. But it was such a different time. For us, we were losing $100 million a day. There was nobody in the airport. There might have been 2 people on board the airplane. But for us in the leadership, it was about communication with our people. We were doing town halls, Zoom meetings every day with our people saying, this is what's happening, this is what's going on. And I think through that, just the lesson of being transparent. You know, there were days, whether it's me, whether it's our CEO, Ed Bastian, when we were talking to our people, there were a lot of days we didn't know the answer. So sometimes as leaders, it's okay. When you don't know the answer, you don't know it. But we were there communicating every single second of every day. And I think just putting our people first. We were back to who we are and what we're all about. You know, we blocked the middle seat. We were the only airline to do that. We blocked the middle seat as much for our people as it was for our customers. Our people didn't want to be on a plane with anybody either. So it was an opportunity to showcase that, right? To take care of your people. And then I think the other leadership lesson was we were at work every morning. At that time, I was over customer experience, but every morning, 7 a.m., we had a prioritized list of 12 things. This is what we're going to get done today for the customers, and this is what their needs are today to get us through the next day at Delta due to COVID. So that discipline around just being prioritizing what mattered most at that point in time.
I love that you said you put people first. I think that in a crisis is essential and part of that success. When disruptions happen, like major weather events or global instability, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but how do you lead your teams to support both employees and customers effectively at the same time?
Yeah, I think it just goes back to we're all out there supporting them, you know, no matter what, whether it's behind the wings, whether it's making sure they have the tools, making sure if they haven't been able to go home and it's snowstorm, right? We've got a hotel right next to the airport. We're putting them in an airport to make sure they're safe and can come back to work the next day.
With recent challenges like government shutdowns and air traffic controller shortages, how is Delta continuing to support its people while maintaining that operational excellence?
Same answer.
Yeah.
You know, I think we, like behind the wings, 1,000 of us have been out in the airport supporting our people. We even, you know, the TSA is a partner of Delta's. So we've given gas cards, you know, to our TSA agents. We've fed them every single day for 43 days straight, fed them when they're coming in, giving them hotel vouchers, but really rolling up our sleeves to be out there with them. We've trained our Delta people, some of our Delta people, and redeployed them to go be at the front of the TSA to support that way. So, you know, yes, is this something that Delta did not create this, but, you know, things happen, and we believe in that partnership and that teamwork, so just rolling up our sleeves and doing what we needed to do.
Well, how do you as a leader stay motivated and inspire others during challenging times?
Yeah, I think for me, back to people, I am passionate about people, so being able to be out in it with our people is what keeps me going, and they inspire me to keep figuring out how do I better support them, how do I better serve them every day.
Yeah, it's nice that you go out there and are with them. That's the true leadership. Have there been individuals who have inspired your public leadership efforts?
Yeah, I would say my dad. My dad was mayor of my small town for 40 years, and I watched him through the years of, it doesn't matter, he made sure that everybody knew they mattered. Whether it was a small issue that somebody was calling him about, their trash didn't get picked up today, to DOT and transportation issues and heated debates, never losing his cool, being empathetic. And again, I think the biggest lesson was every single person matters, and you have to listen, and you have to be out there, again, going back to listening and being out with people. And so life lessons around that, and I think also from him as a public leader, just, the lesson of if you're given something and given a task, do it well. Be all in, be accountable, and be responsible, and do it well.
Well, moving into kind of some of your work with the executive sponsor for Delta's fight against human trafficking, an incredible initiative. Why is this cause so personal to you, and how is Delta making an impact?
Yeah, I think this all started for Delta back in 2013. This was a shareholders meeting in New York. Our CEO at the time got approached by one of our shareholders who said, what are you doing about trafficking on board the airplane? And Delta's all around the world, what are you doing about it? And it was we don't know. I mean, we had not thought about it. And at that time, which is many years ago, is when we got connected to the topic. It can be a very dark topic, but we believe there's hope in it. And just to share how big it is a $236 billion illegal industry in between weapons and drugs. That's how big it is. And then as we started digging deeper, working with partners, we found out that 70% of survivors say that they were recruited on an airplane. Not necessarily Delta's, but on an airplane. So that was a call to action for us, is we can do something. We fly airplanes. If 70% are on board our airplanes, we have people all over the world on, our airline, our crews are all over the world. We're all over the world traveling. So let's educate the Delta team around that. We also get into legislation around it. And the biggest thing that we do is really give our survivors a leg up. Many of them have felony charges against them. They cannot get a job. They're trying to get their life back, and we offer internships for them. And I will never forget an intern, and the Delta team doesn't know that this is a survivor of trafficking, but we bring them in just like any other intern. But the intern called me and said, "I'd love to have coffee with you," and she knew that I headed up our efforts. And I was sitting with her in our cafeteria at work, and she started telling me her story. She was 8 years old, and she was now 24, at Delta. She was 8 years old, and her mother started selling her for drug money at 8 years old. And not until 23 did she get out of being trafficked. She was trafficked by 3 different men. Think about that. Look at all of us in this room today and how blessed we are, but she's 8 years old, and think about going to school, and she didn't have a life up until age 23. She's sitting here at Delta. She said, "Allison, I've never owned a laptop. I don't know Excel. I don't have any life skills because all I did every day was to be trafficked, and my childhood was taken away." But it was a proud moment for me to sit across, number one, that Delta can be a part of that, but I just sat there, oh my gosh, the courage of this person. And she's had 4 kids from several different men, and she's here at Delta, and she's trying to get her life back. It was one of the most courageous women I've ever met, and all the survivors are. And she went on, was successful through it, and I went to her about a year later. I said, "Jessica, are you ready to come work at Delta?" And she said, "Not yet." She said, "I've got to continue to build my skills and get my life back to stability, and then I'll be ready to come back to Delta." But those are things, as we think about, Keith, and what you've done with this and giving back, when you get involved in a company, find your passion, and there are so many ways that you can give back, and this is just an incredible way that Delta has been able to give back. And we have customers involved in the fight with us. So many of you know we've got Sky Miles at Delta, so we've got customers donating Sky Miles in Delta to make sure that survivors can get from one spot to the next when they're freed, from their trafficking situation. So,
well, that is incredible and so amazing for all of us to get the chance to hear that story, and that really gives us something that we can leave today and take with us. How important that public service is, even in a Fortune 500 company. Why is it essential for business leaders to step up and get involved in public and community leadership positions?
Yeah, I think for us, we serve cities all over the world, and customers come to us from cities all over the world. So I think it's a responsibility for us at Delta to be in the community and give back in multiple ways, and to thank the communities for doing business with us.
Well, many students here want to make a difference, but feel like they must choose between career success and community impact. You've done both of those. What's your advice to those who want to lead and serve at the same time?
Yeah, I think any of us can do what we want to do. We'll find a way, to do it. And I think you absolutely can do both. I think the most important thing through that is you have your responsibility at work, but where you're going to give back, make sure you're passionate about it. Don't do it just to put it on your resume. Make sure that you're passionate about it, because when you're passionate about it, you're going to do incredible things, and it's going to fill your cup too. Not only is it going to help the community, but it's going to fill your cup when you're doing it.
That's really great advice. Tell me about the Normandy Legacy Flight and why it is so important to Delta.
Yeah, so this started 4 years ago. One of our sales employees said, and by the way, to the veterans in the room, thank you for your service. I know there are many in the room, with yesterday being Veterans Day, but at Delta, we've got 13,000 veterans working for Delta. So this particular one of our sales team, said, let's give back to those who have served this country so well. We have Delta airplanes, we can fly to Normandy. Let's take our World War vets back to Normandy every single year. For those, there are a few of them left, let's fly them back to be on that beach and recognize them. And so we've been doing it now for the past 4 years, again, employee-led, listening to our people and acting on that. And it is an amazing thing to be able to give back to those who have given so much to this country.
I've seen some photos from the greeting at the airport, and it is a big event. And I know all the veterans are so grateful for that. So it's amazing that you guys do that.
I'll just say, Ella, this year, we fly them over to Normandy. It is a big celebration. While we were over there this year, there was a story of a survivor in the Normandy newspaper while we were actually there. And as he was writing his story about where he was, when he was spared, his life was spared. It just so happens one of the vets that we took over there was the vet that spared his life. And so we were able to put 2 and 2 together while we were over there. The two of them had not seen each other since the vet saved his life on the battlefield. And so it was an incredible moment, just back to, we connect the world all the time, every day. It was an incredible moment to connect the world with those two, and tears flowing from every single person there. That he was able to thank the person who saved his life for the first time since World War II. So.
That is incredible, and all because of this flight that got started up. Speaking a little bit about connecting the world and traveling, many of us are planning to study abroad soon, possibly our first real experience in a different culture. I'm sure through working at Delta, you have gotten the chance to travel a lot. Mm-hmm. What travel advice would you give us, and how can we ensure we come home transformed?
Well, you'll come home transformed for sure, and you better fly Delta when you're seeing the world. I'll know if you're not. No, I'm kidding. But, I would just say, if you get the chance to do it, do it. It doesn't matter where you go internationally. You're going to learn something. You're going to learn something about the culture. You're going to eat food you've never eaten. You're going to learn about different religions, different traditions. Take the time when you're there in a city. Travel outside of that city. But just consume yourself with the learning, because it's going to make you a better person.
That's great advice, and we should all take it when we study abroad and fly Delta. You've spent 4 decades helping build something extraordinary. When you think about what's next, whether it's continuing at Delta or writing a new chapter, what's on the horizon for you?
Survival right now today with the government shutdown. But, you know, I love what I do. I love that company. I have been extremely blessed there. I did just take on the chief people role in January, so I've been at it almost a year, but I'm not done yet. And so for me, it is making sure, that 102,000 people, that they love working for Delta and that we're doing what we can to make Delta the best it can be. So that's my current chapter and my next chapter right now today.
Well, we can't wait to see what you do next. Thank you, Mrs. Ausband, for your wisdom and insight and for sharing your experiences with us today. We now have a few moments to answer some questions from the audience. So if you could just raise your hand, I'll call on you for a question. Right there in the 4th row in the dress, yeah.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being with us today. My name is Kala Parvin. I'm a Leonard Leadership Scholar studying finance and international business. You've shown that public service doesn't have to be separate from your career, especially through your work with human trafficking. How has public service made you a stronger leader?
Yeah, I think it has given me much broader perspective about the world, and certainly on the human trafficking. I never would have even probably focused on it. So just that learning the issues, right, of what's surrounding us out in the world. I think also when you get involved in things like that in different organizations, just there aren't a lot of resources sometimes. So how do you, the problem solving of how do you get resources, right, to help fund an organization. So those would be 2 things that I would say. And then the third thing I would say is just empathy, just understanding, just and caring for something for others. And I think all of that, right, comes in from a leadership perspective. You've got to have those 3 things as you come into leadership.
Another question. We can go right here in the front.
Hi, Allison. It's nice seeing you again. This is Sally. I'm a senior at MIS Terry College of Business, and I have seen your impact of how you're making employee services Delta it much more efficient and everything and convenient for all the employees. I wanted to ask you, what was your big impact that you made this year as your new position at HR officer? What are the one thing that do you think that made impact on employees and made their life a little bit more easy and convenient at their workplaces?
Yeah, I think I would say 2 things. One is we are all focused on being future ready at Delta, from a people perspective. 5 years from now, today our employees are on a portal and they're on a drop down looking for things. 5 years from now, our people are going to have their AI assistant and they're going to have their leader, and that's how they're going to that's how they're going to learn and be connected to Delta. So we've put together an incredible plan around AI and driving the adoption and really modernizing Delta from a digital perspective. So that's, I think, the biggest impact that we've started to make. And then, there are certainly things, on a different scale, like, for example, the Delta team, one of the best benefits we have is seeing the world and traveling the world. So making it easier for our Delta people to do that through a new modernized app on TravelNet. That's a smaller thing, but it's something that matters to our people. So.
Well, thank you guys for the questions. We now have a few moments for a quick giveaway. So Mrs. Ausband is going to ask some questions, and if you know the answer, raise your hand and we'll give you some Delta swag. So take it away.
All right, who knows where Delta started? Yes. Oh, sorry,
no,
Ella.
you go.
No, you go. No, go, Ella.
Okay, raise those hands again.
There's one up there.
Okay, up there. In the blue right there.
I believe Atlanta, Georgia.
Nope.
Let's see, another one up here.
Macon, Georgia.
Yes.
That's correct, Riley. Well, come come back out into that atrium and someone will hand you your swag bag.
Okay, how many Biscoff cookies do we serve in a year? Anybody want to guess?
Throw out a best guess. There?
1 million? No.
Over there?
10 million.
No.
Right here?
25 million.
No.
Back there in the back.
102 million.
Okay,
No.
I heard 100, 102.
Nope.
No? You guys think bigger. Over here?
375 million.
No. Lower.
Oh, right there, back there?
Lower.
50 million.
Yes. Yes.
Congratulations. Here, you can come get some swag right up here if you want to find him up here. You can get your swag right there for getting the question correct. All right, one last one.
One last one. How much money can we save a year by taking 1 can of Coke off the airplane? So everything we put on the airplane weighs something, and that means more fuel. So if we take off 1 can of Coke, this is your lesson today, your education.
Yes.
150 million.
No.
Good guess.
Good.
You might have stumped him.
I know.
What about over here?
How much?
3 million.
No. Lower.
Back there in the back in the white.
900,000.
A little bit lower.
Front?
700,000.
Lower.
Let's see, back there in the back.
500,000.
A little bit lower.
Let's see, right there.
400,000.
Got it.
You got it, Jacob. All right, you can also get some swag.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Ausband, for your thoughtful and inspiring remarks and for visiting with us this morning. We want to present you with a small token of our appreciation as a thank you for being with us today. Please join me in thanking Mrs. Allison Ausband.
Thank you. Thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate it.
Now I would like to invite today's sponsor, Mr. Keith Mason, to offer a concluding word. Mr. Mason?
Well, thank you. That was an outstanding program, and the story of Allison Ausband personifies what public leadership is all about and why I started this program many years ago. And it was actually the day that our first event was the day that President Jerry Moorhead was announced as president of the University of Georgia in 2013. And we've had a number of prominent speakers, both who are alums of the University of Georgia and those who have not been alums, but also demonstrated public leadership in their business life. And Allison's role at Delta is one that really does reflect the mission of this program, which is to plant seeds of leadership, public leadership, in the minds of the University of Georgia students, particularly those who are in the business school, because what she does by working with the public and being the chief people officer, and everybody that comes in contact with that business, it comes down to the people. Without the people support, the public support, you will not have the success at the bottom line. And she has integrated that type of public leadership in her role at Delta and in her personal life that allows for success all across the board. And Delta as a company has done that in this state in particular. There's probably been no issue of public magnitude that Delta has not demonstrated some form of public leadership through its actions. And for many years, Harold Beavis, who she referred to earlier, was the person at the front lines at the state capitol having to do what it takes to get the public leadership from our state leaders by bringing the force of Delta and its presence in our state to get it done. And we would not have the Delta Hall in Washington, D.C. for the programs that it provides without Allison Osband's quiet, public, strong leadership at Delta. I do not believe it would have otherwise been done without her. And so I'm personally honored that she would be here to do this. She's the first person I ever went to college with that has actually been selected to do it. And there's another individual that I want to thank for being here, and that's former University of Georgia president and temporary College of Business Dean Chuck Knapp. Many of you go to this school on the Hope Scholarship and on the Zell Miller Scholarship, for whom I worked for. And in 1992, we were trying to pass the Georgia lottery that would allow the resources to provide a Hope Scholarship and the pre-kindergarten program. And during that period, we never would have dreamed that it would have done what it has done over the years. And we had a lot of people that doubted that particular program. And we had many people in the education community of this state that were working against us, along with people from the religious leadership and others who just culturally couldn't accept some form of gambling in our state. And Governor Miller and I asked some of our college presidents to step up and indicate that we needed to pass that particular amendment with the public in 1992 so we could have these resources. And many of President Knapp's brethren in higher education would not step up and do that. But Chuck Knapp was one of the few who did, and got booed at the Georgia-Kentucky game and a few things like that, and endured some public pain, but it was all worth it. And that is another demonstration of public leadership. And those are the kinds of things that you have to do to make something happen at the birthplace of higher education. Allison, thank you for being here. Thank all of you. Thank President Moorhead. Thank the Dean and the other deans that are here from the programs that I support here at the University of Georgia. Thank you.